Hello, fourth graders. Welcome. This is lesson 6.11. And today we are going to be talking about some more about angles. And I have this up here for us to take a look at first. Notice down at the bottom what it says. It says the measure of angle APB, right? So look at A, P to B. That angle is 17 degrees. The measure of angle BPC, so see that angle, follow that angle, right? There's BPC. So this angle here is 33 degrees without using a protractor. So don't get out your protractor and hold it up to the screen. Don't do that. Find the measure of another angle in the diagram. Let's give you a moment to think and work on that first. All right, could you find another angle measure? Here's a hint. You can figure out the measurement of angle APC. Now, let's think about why. We know that right here to right here is 17 degrees. And we know that from here to here is 33 degrees. So what would the whole thing be? Yeah, did you add those up? This would be 50 degrees. Okay, so angle, my little angle spot right here. Angle, there's our angle measurement. Angle APC measures 50 degrees. All right, so what can we learn from this experience? Okay, we can measure things. If we know some things, we can measure them without a protractor because just like length and area, angle measures can be added. Today, we will use our knowledge of angle attributes, measures, and benchmark angles, and addition and subtraction to find unknown angle measures. So what that means, right, is that we can, if we have two angles, we can add those up. If we know one big angle and know the part of another one, we can subtract. Let me show you how. There's our goal. Our goal is to be able to add and subtract to find unknown angle measures. Okay, and our standard continues to be working with measuring angles. This time, when it talks about appropriate tools, that can be a protractor, but it can also be our good brains. Here is a key point and a new word for you. When the sum, that means adding, right? When the sum of two angles equals 180 degrees, they are called supplementary angles. Supplementary angles. What are supplementary angles? Yeah, it's right there on the screen. If these are two angles that add up to 180 degrees. So let me show you this, right? Here we have a couple of angles. We have this angle right here that is 30 degrees. And we have this angle here that we don't know. What about the whole thing? What about all the way from here to here? It's a straight angle, right? How many degrees were on a straight angle? 180. This whole thing, both of these angles combined equal 180 degrees. So our equation, we could actually write this two ways. If we take our 30 degrees plus this right here, plus A, the unknown, equals 180 degrees. Okay. Now, another way to write that, if you want to use subtraction, you would write it like this. 180 degrees minus 30 degrees equals A, our unknown. And then we just have to figure out what fits in there. Right? So 180 minus 30 would be 150 degrees. All right, these are called supplementary angles. What is one thing you heard Mr. White do that sounds important to remember? Okay, what did you say? A couple of things. These are supplementary angles. They add up to 180 because they sit on a straight angle, right? They just sit there. And it's like a straight angle has been divided into two parts. So if we add up the two parts, that equals that 180 degrees. All right, let me have you help me here. Let me make sure I've got two of these left. Oh, good, I do. All right, so we'll do this one together and you'll do the next one on your own. So look here, right? Let's make sure we know this whole thing from there to there. How many degrees is that? It's 180, right? And so our equation, we need to put these two numbers in the same equation with 180. What you can write it as addition or as subtraction. What do you think? All right, I'm going to write it as addition first. E, our unknown, plus 55 degrees equals 180 degrees, or flip that around, right? Because these are inverse operations. We use that correct term, right? Kind of like opposites. Equals E. All right, so now you're going to need to subtract. Oh, look what I did. I made a mistake. I put a plus sign in there. That's not good. Let's get rid of that. Minus 55 equals 180. Now, the important thing here is that we, make sure that we write down this subtraction problem. If you do this problem sideways, I bet that you get 35. But you'll see that it's not 35 or 135. Okay, 180 minus 55. What would that be? Don't tell me 135. It's not 135 because we have to borrow and then subtract. This is why you have a notebook right next to you or dry erase board. 125 degrees. All right, these are supplementary angles. Let's let you do this one. Go ahead. Okay, we would have W plus 164 equals 180, or you could do the subtraction. If you figured that out correctly, you have an angle measurement of 16. If you have 24, then that means that you tried to subtract sideways. Don't try to subtract sideways. It gets the answers wrong. Now, what about this? What if we have the sum of two angles and they equal 90 degrees? We're going to call those complementary angles, not complement with an I, right? If you say a compliment, that means you say something nice about someone, right? So these are homophones, right? They are two words that sound the same but mean very different things. If you have complementary, something that's complementary is like peanut butter and jelly. Those are complementary. Those go together. So these two angles go together to equal 90 degrees. Well, let me ask you to do some thinking here. How do you think we might figure out the angle labeled W here? All right, I bet we were on to this because look, see this right angle? The whole thing is 90 degrees, isn't it? So if we have 65 plus W equals 90, that's going to give us our answer. Okay, we can write that as subtraction like this. And then if I try to do that sideways, I'm going to say 35, but I'm not because 35 is wrong, which is why it's important to take time to show good effort and to subtract correctly. 25 degrees. And that makes sense, right? Because that's an acute angle. That's another thing you can ask yourself to kind of keep track of your thinking is, does my angle look like the angle measurement that I have decided, right? If we look back here on this one, this was a very, very small acute angle. So this is a measurement that makes sense. That's how you can help keep track of that for yourself. All right, what should our equation be here? it should be y plus 20 equals 90 degrees, or we could subtract 90 minus 20 equals y. That one you can do in your head because you have zeros on the end. How much is that? 70 degrees. Did you just say 70? Don't forget degrees. Gotta always label that unit. And now here, one for you to do. Go ahead and do this one all the way. If you got this one right, you came up with an answer of 35 degrees. Hey, you had your equation, x plus 55 equals 90. And then when you subtract, you get 35. If you put 45, you didn't subtract correctly. Don't try to do them sideways. All right, there's that goal. We're working to add and subtract to find unknown angle measures. We're measuring angles, but we're using different tools than we did before, right? We used a protractor like a physical tool. Now we're using kind of a shortcut method where we can look at supplementary angles and complementary angles. Here is your math journal page. It is page 218. And you can see that you have a couple of complementary angles here at the beginning to solve. Your equation can be written with addition or subtraction, whichever one works for you. They both work for me. There's a couple that are supplementary, and you definitely do need to do the try this. Use that good brain of yours and think, how could I solve for X here? All right, fourth graders, that's all. This was lesson 6.11, where we worked with additive angle measurements. These angles are either supplementary or complementary. I'll see you next time. Good luck.